Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you've taken some time to come and be with us on our podcast today. Very excited. We have an angler on today that is known as one of the greatest casters in professional bass fishing. We're going to learn a lot today. We've got Major League Fishing Pro and Heritage Cup champion Andy Montgomery coming up next on the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast, where faith and fishing hook up. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast. Today, I have as my guest, and this is not something that is subjective because I've done my own polling on this. Even his peers call this guy one of the best casters in professional bass fishing. This guy can put a lure in places that you'd never thought there were even places before. And he's also a Major League Fishing champion. Welcome today, my good friend, Andy Montgomery. How's it going, Andy?
It's going good, Chris. Going good. We've been trying to do this for a while, but life's kind of chaotic right now for both of us.
You are 100% correct on that. It is. Well, you seem to be in your office there. Is that your are you driving somewhere, or what's your story?
I'm actually sitting in my driveway. Yeah, so I got a 7-year-old, and a lot of times my niece is there, and I live in a really small house. My office is in the corner of my living room. So yeah, this is where I do most of my Zoom meetings, in my truck, which I feel at home in my truck. We spend so much time in our trucks.
That's exactly right. I know exactly how you feel about that. Well, listen, so you grew up in Blacksburg, South Carolina. You kind of lay your head down in Grover, North Carolina, right there. I mean, it's right on the border, but you grew up there. And something I got to ask you just right off the bat here. You're a graduate of Clemson University. Okay. And I say everybody's laughing because we're both laughing because Andy knows I'm a big South Carolina fan, but my son went to Clemson as well. But you got an engineering. I know that there are people in the bass fishing world that follow you that have no clue that Andy Montgomery has an engineering degree from Clemson. You have an engineering degree from Clemson. Now, here's the question. The question is, how in the world did you get to be a professional bass fisherman after getting an engineering degree at Clemson? Did you just want to have a good backup plan, or what was the story? Tell us your journey about how you got to be a pro fisherman out of an engineering degree from Clemson.
Yeah, well, the engineering degree was kind of mama's dream, the college degree, but it has been a big benefit to me, even in professional fishing. But yes, I got an engineering degree from Clemson, graduated in 4 years. I'm pretty proud of that. I did not take my engineering exam. I'm going to go ahead and put this out there, but I passed everything. I have an engineering degree, but I did not take my engineering licensing exam because I had a tournament that day. Me and Daddy had a pretty big tournament that day. And to get your engineering license, you got to take the exam. I didn't take it. Thank goodness it worked out. But I had a job waiting on me. A guy named John McCarter. I went to work straight out of high school as summer help, surveying and part-time, doing that type of stuff. And I had a job waiting on me. So I didn't think I really needed to get them licensed because he'd already hired me. He said, they called me String Bean because I was so skinny. They said, String Bean, we got the job waiting on you. So
String Bean Montgomery. Does anybody know that? I'm going to start calling you that. String Bean Montgomery.
I ate some cheeseburgers since then and got rid of that nickname. But actually double cheeseburgers. But yeah, I worked a couple years as a civil engineer, and then, wasn't married at the time, still living at home. My only bill was a truck payment. And then, so that was the time to try it, and, thank the good Lord it worked out.
Man, that's awesome. Well, hey, so tell us about the journey. So you started, I know you were fishing tournaments while you were in college. Okay.
Yeah.
But tell us how you went from kind of local tournament fisherman, engineering degree. Now we're going to make a journey on to be a Major League Fishing pro. How did that happen?
Yeah, so it's been a journey too. So back in them days, FLW was really, really strong, and it was very hard to get into without a sponsor exemption, or you finished in the top 10 in either the Ever Starts is what they called them back then. Now they're the Toyota series, or you finished top 10 on the co-angler side. They had co-anglers in them days. So my goal was to qualify for the FLW. Obviously, I was a young kid from Blacksburg, South Carolina. I got no sponsor exemptions. I don't know anybody in the industry. Um, so yeah, that was my goal, to make the top 10 in either the Ever Starts or the co-angler side of the FLW. I won the co-angler side. I won co-angler of the year. Got me a lifetime supply of butter. That's
Man,
what I got. That's another story. But
that helped you get rid of the nickname String Bean when you got the lifetime supply of butter.
Actually, yeah, yeah. I guess you could say that. They got help me get rid of that name. But now they went that, like, fast forward. I'll get back. We're gonna chase this rabbit here, but fast forward a few years, and I draw Brian New the last tournament, Kentucky Lake. He's leading co-angler of the year, right? And he's pacing around on my back deck. And I know Brian. Brian's a great fisherman from South Carolina. You know him as well.
Yeah.
Fishes the Elite Series now.
Right.
But he's like, man, I need to win that boat. And I stopped a minute and I thought, did he really just say what I think he said? I turned around and I said, boat. He said, yeah, man, I win like a 518 if I win the co-angler of the year. I said, a boat? I want a lifetime supply of butter. And you fixing to win a boat. But so yeah, back to the journey. I did that, qualified for FLW, and I'm very, very fortunate that when I started, it was fishing's on the rise again, and it's really good right now. But that was the heyday of FLW.
Right. Yeah. They
Entry
had it
fees
going
was
on.
low. Entry, and it was the heyday of the elites too. That's when they had the majors, and entry fees were low. You could pay your entry fees and actually make a living without any sponsor help. You could do it, and I did it. Brian Thrift did it. We was very fortunate, and then the next year was able to. That's when the chatterbait was born. And Ron Davis and Ron's daddy, so Ron Senior, Ron Junior, they actually paid our entry fees because we was very instrumental in blowing that thing up to what it is today. So that's how I got my start, man. And I made it. There was times when things was tight, but fished FLW for a few years. The first year they let us scheduling conflicts didn't interact with fishing the opens. I'd always dreamed of fishing the Bassmasters Classic like every kid. So yeah, the first year I'm trying to speed this up because it's a long process. But the first year we could fish, I fished the Southern Opens, finished second in the points, so I qualified for the elites. Then that was in 2010. I actually won my first national tournament that year. That was a big year for me. I had a big year on FLW. Had a big year fishing the opens. I was fishing a lot. I think that year I was gone like 250 days.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot. And I know a lot of my friends now that really didn't know me back in them days. You know, they don't remember that part when I was basically non-existent. And but anyway, I made the qualified for the elites. It's the same year Ott qualified, so that's the year me and Ott started rooming together. Fished the elites for 6 years, I think. And then Major League Fishing was born, and that's Major League Fishing was born actually before that, and I was able to get in on the selects and then qualify for the cups, and that's when my career really, really took off, when I was able to show my personality a little bit, and and then the BPT was born, and that's where we are now. Fishing.
Are you
BPT.
saying you have a personality? Is that what you're trying to tell me? You got a personality?
Yeah, man, I don't know about that.
I'll tell you this. There are very few anglers I can say this about, but you, James Niggemeyer, I've never heard anybody just say, I can't stand that guy. And I got to tell you, if I meet somebody that doesn't like Andy Montgomery, I'm just like, I just don't want to know him. I just don't want to know those guys. You guys have got a great reputation. Everybody loved you out there on the tour. So you started fishing did you start with your dad? Now your dad was a great fisherman.
Yeah, it was my dad and grandpa. Yeah.
Okay. So you started fishing tournaments with them, and I know
Yeah.
that.
So well, actually, early on, yeah. So we just went fishing, right? You know, I used to take Daddy fishing on Father's Day when I was 11 years old, right? I was taking
Wow.
him. That
Yeah,
was
you
got
taking him.
that was
Yeah.
got yeah. It was a good excuse. But then was good years. My grandpa, he never used a bait caster. I still got his two push buttons out there, and he would whip your tail from the back of
Right.
the boat with
Yeah.
a push button. Probably, and you said it to start with, but one thing I'm known for is my casting ability, and man, I still got vivid memories of him with a push button, just being deadly accurate, you know, with his
Really.
lure, putting a lizard by any dock pole he wanted to put it by. But yeah, so and Daddy and Grandpa fishing tournaments, they kind of got out of it. And then, you know, as I progressed, and especially through high school, I played so many sports. But as soon as I graduated, um, you know, I got into the tournament game, and you know, Daddy was my team partner most of the time. I mean, it's me, Daddy, Louis Hall, who owned Shooter Jigs, and Brian Thrift. That was
Tell me about Louis. Tell me about
yeah.
him.
So yeah, Louis, he's been a great mentor of mine, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I spent a lot of time in the boat with him, and then Brian fished with him a lot. But then when me and Brian started fishing, you know, nationally, that's when him and Daddy started fishing together. So,
Okay.
and you know, they called them Team Geritol, but they used to,
Team
they was
Geritol.
pretty, yeah, that's pretty good with a jig. I think
Not,
they won two boats together, and they was pretty good fishermen. Two things Dad and Louis both did was confidence is everything in this game, and it can be broken quickly. You know, I got a buddy whose granddaughter's in the 7th grade playing varsity. She got her first at bat the other night, and I think she hit a double or triple. She just ripped it, you know,
right.
and
Yeah.
that initial confidence boost is going to carry her so much. You know, she knows she
Right.
can do it, and that's, you don't know if you can compete even locally. But man, Daddy and Louie and Brian too. Um, they had so much confidence in me that it gave me the confidence to do it.
Right. That's huge right there. And you and Louis won a big tournament on Lake Murray one time. Wasn't that right?
Well, we qualified for the national on Lake Norman. We fished Murray to qualify, and then we won the one at we won the 25,000 at Norman, which was a big deal for me.
Okay.
Big deal.
Tell
Yeah,
us about the
Dad.
last cast on that tournament. I've heard the story, so I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
let all of our listeners hear this story. It's good.
yeah. So me and Daddy, I was fishing nationally then, but still trying to fish locally. That's the year I was fishing as a co-angler. So Daddy and Louie had subbed in twice. Me and Daddy was supposed to fish. Daddy fell off his barn that year, broke both legs. He was in his bed. I mean, he was bedridden for 6 months. So I read the rules, and it said either death of a member of a partner or extreme hardship. Well, the man's in the bed for 6 months. That's pretty extreme
That's
hardship
extreme.
for
Yeah.
me. Yeah. So long story short, I called the tournament director. He said, "Yeah, you can get another partner." And I said, "Well, I'm gonna use Louis. He's already fished two of them. You know, it's just an easy transition." And Louis said, so of course there was some things said. Well, he got Louis. You know, Louis knows Norman like the back of the hand. The deal was, I done spent enough time with Louis and Brian and Daddy. We all knew the same stuff. I knew Norman like the back of my hand too. And anyway, I said, Louis, if we win this thing, there might be some stuff said. And Louis said, Andy, I can buy a lot of earplugs for $25,000. I said, that's a good point, Louis.
I'm going to use that. That's good. Yeah.
He said, I can buy a lot of earplugs for $25,000. So, but yeah, the last day we had an okay first day, a good second day, got us in position to win, and we needed a big third day. And there was this one dock, we'd fished it every day, had not got a bite, was coming back down the lake, and I turned in Davison Creek, was weighing in at Blythe. I turned in Davison Creek, and Louis said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "We got to fish that one dock again, Louis." And he said, "We ain't got time." I said, "Yeah, we do." And we pulled up to it, and I stood up in the first cast. I skipped my jig under there and caught a 4-pounder. When I was winding him in, I said, "That's 25,000." Lloyd netted him, and he was culling when I was getting on plane to get back to the ramp. We barely made it back. We ended up winning that tournament.
25,000.
I mean, hey, at that time, that was very, very important to me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of money, and I supported my fishing habit, you know, through I was working at the state, obviously, but a lot of it came from winnings, and that 25,000 was a big, big deal.
Wow. That's a great story. I remember you telling that. You know, I'm going to tell a story now. The first time I ever rode in the boat with you. Okay. It was in a lake. I won't say the name of the lake, because I'm going to say what you said. All right. So we won't curse the lake. So we're in, that was back when Bassmaster used to let me practice with guys. And so I'm in the boat with you, and I've heard my whole life, man, this guy can cast like nobody else. Mike McClellan, I fished with him during that tournament, and he said, man, if Andy Montgomery is coming into a creek, he said, and I'm fishing docks and I see him coming out, he said, I'm finding me a new creek. He said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going behind him and doing that. So we get up there, and I'm watching you, and you've got a buzz bait. And this is before the buzz frog, had come out big time.
Right.
You knew about it early on. And so my headphones are getting on me here. So what happened was you took that buzz bait and you skipped it 30 feet underneath a dock through an area about that big. And I felt like a child. I did. I remember exactly. I felt like Peter when they throw the net on the other side and they get the fish, and he just goes, Lord, just go away from me. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy, man. Let's just get into this skipping. How did you get to be such a great skipper, and what can you do? I mean, my buddy Al Odom said, you need to ask Andy if he was into hopscotch as a kid, because he's skipping around all over the place. What started that? How did you get involved in, and what do I need to do to be a better skipper?
Yeah, well, don't sell yourself short, because we have fished together a time or two, and Chris is a lot better caster and fisherman than he lays on to be. But
there's a reason I'm the chaplain and not on the tour.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but it's just a product of where we grew up, Lake Wiley, Lake Norman area. You got to learn to do that. And I actually went fishing with a guy, Rick McKenzie was his name. He's him and Van Sexton were long time team partners around here. And I seen him, skip a jig under a pontoon, and I'm like, I got to learn to do that. And that was a lot of days going to the lake with 2 rods and a sack of jigs and a bunch of chunks, maybe some extra line, because I might need some extra line. But I wanted to perfect that technique, and I was very fortunate to do it. It takes good hand-eye coordination, which I feel like I'm blind as a bat, so I don't know why I got good hand-eye coordination. I have to wear contact. I mean, I can't even find my way to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I'm really, really blind without my contact. But yeah, that's where it all started. And back in them days, you could win tournaments doing some other stuff, and we actually did win several tournaments doing other stuff, and everybody always thought I caught them on a jig. So we'd get back, and Daddy said, "You let me do the talking. I ain't scared to tell a fib." And so he'd let them all think we caught them on a jig. And but anyway, that's where it started. It's really just a product of where I grew up. There's a lot of great casters around this area. I mean, they just are. It's like, Texas. You think of the Fairclaws and the guys like that are just tremendous grass fishermen. It's a product of where they grew up. Bobby Lane's a tremendous grass fisherman. It's a product of where he grew up. The smallmouth fishermen is a product of where they grew up. So the casting and the skipping's a product of where I grew up.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. Well, I know that you are a student of the game, and you're really a student of all professional sports. I've noticed that about you. I think one time we were rooming together, maybe at Sabine River, and we always remember that because we ate more cookies than the law allows. We were in this place. They had a great place down there. But you were, I believe,
then you tried to walk you tried to walk back to the hotel like the tide that day.
I need to walk back to every hotel I ever stay in. I need to do some walking. So,
Yeah.
but you're reading, I think it was a John Wooden book, or, some basketball. I know you played basketball in high school, and you're really a student of, whenever I talk to you, you're not going to a movie. You're not going to you're not open up reading a book. You're watching some kind of game. Either you're going to a game or you're watching a game. I was telling Defo when I interviewed him, we had a day off at New York one time, or maybe some of y'all didn't make the cut. And I said, you said, what are we going to do, Chris? And I said, we can go fishing. And you said, that ain't going to happen. And so, you are. And the question that I want to get to in this, is there are a lot of people today that think bass fishing is just luck. It's just, absolutely. If you got, the only reason that you're a bass pro is because somebody gave you a bunch of stuff and a bunch of lures, and they gave you a boat. And if I could get a boat and a bunch of stuff, I could go be a bass pro too. But bass fishing is a gift, just like any other sport. Would you agree with that?
I do, and it's kind of tricky to talk about because
now, I know you don't like to toot your own horn, and but everybody knows you're a professional athlete. You're a professional angler, and there's a difference. You like Chris Wells, you've seen me fish, you've seen my mechanics. You see, I got no left hand. And so if I can get better as a fisherman. I really believe that. I can get better. I can practice. I can do things, but I'm not a professional angler. It's a gift that God gives people to be able to do that. So talk about that.
I like to use the example. If I say I'm not tooting my own horn, but I believe God gives everybody's gifts. I mean, he gave you the gift of speaking, and these people got all kind of gifts, and it's our job to find them and use them. But I liken it to Tiger Woods or Stephen Curry. I could go out and I could hit 1 million golf balls a day. I'll never be Tiger Woods. I just won't. These guys, he's practiced incredibly hard. He's matched his gift with hard work to get to where he is. Stephen Curry the same way. He matched his gift with hard work to get to where he is. But somebody shot just as many 3-pointers in their life as Stephen Curry has, but they don't shoot like Stephen Curry.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody's hit just as many golf balls or more than Tiger Woods has in their life, but they don't play golf to the level they do. So I don't know what it is about fishing, but some guys have a little different gift, and obviously there's local guys that are probably just as good, maybe better. I don't know, but yeah, I firmly believe it's a gift. I don't know what it is. It may be the decision making. It's something. There's something there. You see it. You're very fortunate. You have seen the inside of the game. You have been with the guys. You've seen them make decisions on the water. You've seen them make casts with both hands, and you've seen all that. So you have a different perspective of it.
I really have. I've seen that. People ask me that all the time. They go, "Oh, well, it's just luck." And I said, "Listen, casting, that's one of the big things that I've noticed, that if you have just the difference between the normal guy and a really good pro is most every good pro that I know can use both hands. They can use their non-dominant hand as well as they can their dominant hand. And that's astounding to me. There's so many angles that I miss on on every fishing trip. Because I just got no left hand. There's no telling where that left hand's going to go. Just no telling. So, but I've noticed you guys, you can use both hands. It's an amazing and fun experience, to watch you guys out there. And especially when you're skipping that thing under docks, and you talked about confidence, man. I come to a dock and I hit that thing, just like, bow. I mean, how do you make, what are some things that you would tell people that they can get better with their confidence and with their skipping and just to be better all around angler What would you tell them to work on?
Casting, number one. I mean, the better caster you are, the more fish you're gonna catch. Period. It don't matter what you're throwing. It just don't. If you're fishing a spinner bait, the closer you can lay it to that lay down or stump, the more fish you're gonna catch. If you're fishing a lizard, same thing. The closer you put it to that stump, the more fish you're gonna catch. If you're fishing offshore, well, it don't matter offshore. It does. The further you throw that crankbait, the deeper it's gonna get, the more time it's gonna stay in the strike zone. So casting is number one. As far as skipping, I actually, one of my officials, last event, I think. But anyway, he said he was with me at Lake Travis. I think that was when you were staying with me and you cooked us in famous spaghetti.
I did.
Shut down.
I also called in a turkey with a MacBook Pro that tournament.
Yeah, you did, but you told us spaghetti was your specialty, and then you shut down Verizon wireless towers, calling Pam, trying to figure out how to make the spaghetti.
That's
so
exactly right.
But anyway, he said he was with me. He said, you hit the first pontoon, just bam. And I thought, this guy ain't no better than us. And he said, you said, see the hole, hit the hole. And you never miss one the rest of the day. And that's probably the biggest thing. It's just like most other things. What you see is where you're going to hit. So if you don't want to hit the pole, don't look at the pole. You're going to hit the pole. You look at the hole. See the hole, hit the hole. It's the same thing with a stump or a lay down or whatever. You don't look at the stump and say, I want to put it to the right of the stump. No, you go ahead and focus on the right part. You focus where you want to put it. That's probably number one is always focus on where you want to put it, not what you want to throw beside or, I see a float. I won't throw under that float, so I'm looking at the float. No, you got to look. You focus on the actual hole. See the hole, hit the hole.
That's good stuff. See the hole, hit the hole. So I'm always you're not aiming that thing. It's almost like an instinctual, almost like instinctual bow shooting or something like that.
Yeah.
You're not trying to place that thing. You're just
when you shoot a bow, you don't look at the arrow and let it go. Or you don't look at the horns on a deer. I want and let it go. You gotta but in baseball, you don't look at the baseball bat, and try to hit the baseball. You're looking at the baseball. So football, same way. You don't look at the football and try to throw it to the receiver. You look at the receiver's hands or whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's focusing your eyes. Your eyes and your brain is very complicated and super important. I think there's a better word than important, but it's amazing. That's what it is. Yeah. It's just super amazing how your eyes and your brain all work together. So see the hole, hit the hole. Focus on where you want your bait to land. It's going to help you a tremendous amount.
Let's talk about the equipment that you need to be able to skip. Now I know you've just come out with a, and this is what you told me. You said, Chris, this new Lew's rod, this new Lew's reel could make you skip like me. That's what you said. I started laughing. Then you laughed after that. But tell us about the equipment. How important is it to have the right equipment to be able to skip with it? And what does your skipping setup look like?
Yeah, so of course mine's the Lew's, but there's a lot of good rods out there. I got a Lew's skipping rod. I got a 7-1 and a 6-9, depending on how tall you are. Don't use too long of a rod. People tell me, I can skip that thing all day with a 7-6. Maybe you can, but I feel like I'm gonna be more accurate with a 7-1 because I'm a little taller, so I use a 7-1 versus a shorter guy needs to use a 6-9.
Okay.
It keeps you from doing too much sidearm. You can really, it's a 45 more towards the water. You can be so much more accurate if you match the length of rod to how tall you are. The skipping reel, nobody's ever built a skipping reel. I wanted to do it. I finally got them to do it. And the problem was, they said, okay, let's build one. It ain't like I already had the idea in my head of how to build it. That's the bad part. But I thought back and some of my older friends that, they've since passed away, but they used to put tape on the reels, to keep it from backlashing. So we created the perfect gearing system, and and a shallow spool, which actually sped the spool up, is better than putting tape on it, which was an unintended good consequence. It's just better because the spool's more free. You don't have much line of backlash. It's an incredible reel. I mean, it really is. The rods are really, really good, but just being
What is it about a
100%
rod?
honest.
Do you want a fast tip or a big? I mean, what are your?
Yeah, so you want, so then that's, every company's different. Some companies heavies are not, other companies medium heavies, but mine actually says heavy on it. You want a lot of backbone with a lot of tip. So
Okay.
so that didn't make sense. A really, really stiff backbone with a lot of limber tip. I call it the 80-20 action. You want the last 20% or so of the rod to be where most of the tip is, 80% of it to be really, really stiff.
Right.
And then match the length of rod to how tall you are. That's really, really important.
So you're saying I need to skit with a 6-foot rod? Is that what you're saying?
Well, 5'6", 5'7", probably. No, you can get by with a 6'9". Daddy, Louie, Brian, they all use 6'9", so, and they're really good at skipping. But yeah, match the length of the rod, and that reel, it sounds like a cheap commercial, but it's not. I mean, everybody's used it. It blew my expectations away. I'll say that.
That's awesome. Great stuff
Loose
there.
skipping pitching reel is what we call it.
So we can get that at the Bass Pro Shop over in Charlotte, North Carolina.
You can get it at the Bass Pro if they got them in stock.
Oh, yeah.
Them things have been harder to keep in stock than toilet paper this year.
Wow.
I mean, it's just
that's good.
They
hey,
let me tell you this. The Lou's website too.
Oh, Lou's website. That's good.
Yeah.
So there's this little saying from Jace Robertson that's popular on TikTok right now, and where Jace Robertson says, "Is this becoming a near-death experience?" I don't know if you've heard that or not, but you had a near-death experience recently, and
yeah.
And tell us about your near-death experience you had recently.
Yeah. So yeah, I built me a pond, something I always wanted, and I was putting lime in it. I was on my skid steer, which is a cab skid steer. It's got them cages, and them cages become very vivid later on. But I was putting lime in my pond. I grew up on equipment my whole life. Of course, when something happens like that, everybody tells you what you did wrong. But I said, hey, if I slide, I'll slam my bucket, and walk myself out. We use our bucket on equipment all the time. I was on my last load, going down in the same place, and then the biggest thing I can take from it or say is before I could think. It was just any other day. Before I could think, I was 20 foot plus deep.
Wow.
In my pond, trapped in the skid steer. So looking back on it, I didn't know. I thought the machine cut off. My bucket was up in front of the door. I got a Caterpillar, so the door actually opens. The bucket was in front of the door, so I couldn't open the front door. And it's just like something you see on a movie.
Wow.
When
so you're 20
the water
feet deep plus under the water.
Yeah, water's rushing in.
What are you thinking now?
I said, this is it. I mean, that door wouldn't open, and I looked at them cages, and there wasn't no getting out them cages. And I said, this is it. And I was incredibly calm. And I mean, I know where that comes from. It comes from knowing where I'm going. I know I'm just passing through this life, but not at the time.
So let me ask you a question. So you're confident that if that would have been the day, where you're going?
No doubt. I mean, awesome. no doubt. And I've heard people say, yeah, he was scared to death. I really was. Until you're in that situation, I was not. Dadgum, I'd like to get through one of these without getting emotional, Chris.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was over, and the cab was filling up fast. And I told myself, this is it. And I knew in 2 minutes it was going to be over for me. But I just, man, I didn't want to leave my little girl here. I hate you. And I'm just kidding.
So you
But
didn't want
that's
to
all
leave
I
your
could
girl
think.
there.
I couldn't think about nothing but her.
Right.
And
Hmm.
but yeah, I remember the guy telling me, if you get in trouble, and this was a year earlier, if you ever get in trouble, pull this and you can knock this back window out. So I flipped around, I pulled that deal, and I couldn't get it open. Dadgum you. But eventually,
It's okay, man.
Eventually the cab busted open, the window busted open. I don't remember going out the window. My next vivid thought was I'm swimming, and I can swim. So my next vivid thought was I'm swimming, but
That's a good
I
thing.
didn't know which way. I didn't know which way was up, and my next thought was, am I ever gonna come up? And I did. So it got a little light above me. I was swimming sideways, away from the dang bank, and anyway, I see it got a little light. I came up. My next thought was, "Dadgum, that shore is a long way away." And but anyway, I swam to the shore and got back.
Man.
Walked to my buddy's house, and we was able to get the skid steer out that night and all that. But yeah, it's until you experience that. There's been a lot of people, I mean, I don't know, especially me, but we've always been in situations where we think this is going to hurt.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A wreck or falling out of a tree or whatever. You think this is going to hurt, but to think this is it, that's a whole different a whole different deal. But
So let's go here.
I brought, I took a lot from it, knowing how calm I was. I mean, I can still remember it pretty vividly. I remember thinking, "This is it. 2 minutes. Oh, 2 minutes, and I'll be fine." 2 minutes.
The Bible talks about the peace that passes all understanding. In a situation where you were absolutely, where anybody would be, panicking and trying to get out, you had a peace, about you, and that comes from the indwelling presence of the Holy Spirit of God. And when did that happen to you? When did you come to know Christ? Andy, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was pretty early. It was, I was 13 when I still remember it vividly. So yeah, it's I've lived a pretty. I don't have, everybody has a powerful testimony, but mine doesn't involve drugs, alcohol. I listened to Hanks the other day, rough childhood. People think, and this took me many years to realize, we all have a testimony. But people call some of that stuff powerful. They're all powerful.
Yes.
If you've been saved. So 13 years old, I remember walking down that aisle, John Bridges, and just the feeling that passes all understanding. You still remember that feeling. It's not like you're even walking, but and I've always tried to live a good life. None of us are perfect. But it's that Holy Spirit that's with you, that Holy Spirit's conscience you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that when something bad enters your life, that you try to weed it out. Something else, you're gonna battle another sin, but the Holy Spirit's gonna help you battle them sins. So yeah, and then it was a process to where I share a lot today. It was a process of God worked on me big time to, you have a testimony, but I didn't think I did, or I didn't think mine was powerful. Let me just say that.
And that's what most people, I've been talking about this on the Elite Series this year, is no matter if you have a testimony, God wants you to share that testimony, because there's somebody that, like we had Hank Parker on, very dramatic testimony. And then last week, I had Mark Prudhomme on, my turkey
Yeah.
buddy. And he just said, hey, you know what? I went to church my whole life, but man, I realized one day at church, I wasn't good enough for God. I wasn't good enough. I didn't do drugs or anything, but I was still lost. And he repented of his sins and trusted Christ. And he has a problem. He said, man, I don't have a dramatic testimony. If you have a testimony, if Jesus is in your life, there's somebody out there that testimony can reach, that God wants to use your testimony to reach, no matter how simple, no matter how dramatic, no matter, what kind of testimony it is. If you have a testimony, that's what God wants to use to reach people.
So, and I mean, it ain't if you have one, if you've been saved,
right?
Through the
Yeah,
blood
if you've
of Jesus,
been saved, right.
you do have one. It
that's
ain't.
Right.
Yeah, that's how you know
That's
if
right.
you have one or not. But yeah, so it was a process, and then it's a long story, but anyway, it's a process of my whole career, and then to where I run the Fishers of Men Wrap Boat now, which was another step, and God said, now what you gonna do? You got so yeah, it's been good, Chris.
So when you say God, I remember one time we did a game banquet together over in Gaffney. And I remember you talking, and you have come so far from being, that guy that's sitting there going, man, I don't know, I'm real nervous. I'm real up here to actually being the keynote speaker at Fishers of Men events where there are literally hundreds of people there, and you're telling people about Jesus and about how they can come to know Christ.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So it's a process, and that was probably part of the time I was still struggling with I don't have a testimony, but a lot of events took place. My father dying was one of them, but there was a lot before that. I was speaking before that, but that was that was there you go again.
Well, God uses that. He uses
at
all
the time,
of that in our life.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the time, that was the hardest speech I'd ever gave.
Right. Yeah.
But it was one of the most powerful, and I guess it showed me if you can do this, you can do anything.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's exactly right. Well, okay, I'm gonna lighten you up here. I'm gonna help you out. You ready? So
yeah,
you just now you didn't just win this, but we just found out about it. So you win the Heritage Cup. I mean, you're winner. I mean, I was doing something that day, and I happened to look down at Facebook, and you kept that thing a secret. Like, I mean, I'm like, how in the world do you win a bass tournament of that magnitude with those type of guys in the tournament? You come away the champion, and for a year, you can't tell anybody. That's tough. Yeah. That's got to be tough.
Yeah. Well, I had to tell my wife, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess they let you tell.
I don't know if you're supposed to tell her or not, but yeah. Sharon, and then of course Mama knew, and my sister knew. But yeah, it's you don't get to share it at that moment, but Marty said it on the show. I forget what it was. In that cup style format, just really suited me. It was no practice, which is how I grew up a lot.
Right.
Because I worked. We just fished on the weekends, and it just really suited me. I wanted to win one. I'd finished second in several of them. I'd been so close, and I think Marty said I'd made 9 out of 14 championships.
Wow. Yeah.
Which I'm proud of that. And I'd won the first round. I'd won the sudden death rounds, and I just hadn't won that right round yet. I kept getting there, but I hadn't won that right round yet. And of course, they all told me it's going to happen. You keep showing up, it's going to happen. It'll happen. It'll happen, and it finally did. And it was a relief. Kind of a relief feeling. I'd won 2 national tournaments, so 2 Bassmaster Opens. But that format, I don't know what it was about that format. I just really wanted to win one really bad. Because I thought I that would go with the eye again. But I felt personally like I should have won multiple tournaments in that format. I mean, I just felt like I should have. I'd done it. I just hadn't done it in the right round. But man, what a relief! It was a
Man, I
relief.
bet it was.
I did it in East Tennessee, which is one of my favorite places on earth. I slept at Ott's house, and typically, you know,
That was
Ott's,
awesome.
yeah, Ott wins a lot of tournaments. And every time he wins one, he always covers the house or the room for the week. But I was sleeping at his house, and I won. I
You were
won,
like,
so
man,
there wasn't no rent.
it
Was
didn't cost
good.
Odd anything.
I got to keep all the check.
That's good.
Jenny said something about paying the mortgage for a month. I said, "Dang!"
Wow.
Oh me, but
I
yeah.
tell you what, that's awesome. I was so excited. I mean, I called up several friends yelling. You know, I called up our friend Woody. You know, and he was yelling. Woody's somebody who is just as excited about bass fishermen at his age than he was when he was 14 years old. I mean, and so we follow all you guys. And well, listen, we're coming to a segment of the show where I ask you to do an impersonation. Now, listen, I've been using the word impression. I get nervous when I'm looking at this camera when I'm sort of doing that. But you're going to do an impersonation. Now, understand, you know, of another bass pro. That it's become a beloved segment on the show. And,
boy,
you got some big shoes to fill, because Mark Prudhomme, that dude did Gerald Swindle last week, and it was like he was channeling Gerald Swindle. He just went off on a tear. But I know I've given you a little, you know, time to think about that. But who you got for us today? Who's your impression? Who's your pro you're going to imitate here?
Oh, me. Well, I'm gonna do Edwin Evers.
Edwin Evers. Okay.
Edwin Evers, and you most of the impressions you do is around somebody you spend some time around, and
right.
Edwin stayed with us several times this year. Me and Ott. Edwin's had his dad just passed, so he needed to be around some friends and stuff. But that dude is so competitive. He's become one of my best friends on tour. I call him for a lot of different stuff, business wise and everything. But that dude is so competitive.
Yeah. He was a college football player. People don't know that.
And his wife could have played. She could have been D1 in every sport there was. If she wanted to play football, she could have. So I guess it's a competitive household, but he's so meticulous. Everything's done to a T. He's got his meals planned out. He's got everything planned out. Right. And me and Otter are the exact opposite. We're the exact opposite. And he shows up. He shows up to a house at 4, and he gets out of the truck. And he's like, "Have you checked the outlets?" I checked the outlets. Man, we got to check the outlets. We got to check the outlet. What you mean check the outlet? Look, I'm gonna go in here and flip all the breakers. I'm gonna flip all the breakers, and we're gonna check these outlets, and we're gonna figure out which breakers on a different outlet we want to plug up to a different breaker. So we won't plug up to an outlet. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't never have problems with your batteries. Y'all don't ever have problems with your batteries. I'm like, "Oh, Ed, we don't worry about it." oh man, we got to check it. So he's running around. He's plugging up. Yeah, this one works. This one works. This one works. Hey, did I say this would work? I'm like, I don't know. All right, and he plugs them up. So he gets everything, and I'm not talking like him. He's always, he's just so intense about everything. He's so intense about these outlets as he was about catching a bass. And he gets done, and he's like, "All right, we're good, dude. We're good. We're all got different outlets, different breakers. You know, if one breaker flips, it's not going to break them all. We're not going to flip breakers because we're on the same outlet." Me and Ott's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Y'all don't ever worry about that? Y'all don't ever think about that?" We're like, No. We get up in the mornings and say, "Dang, our batteries didn't charge. We better do something different tonight."
Now, now that you say that, I remember one time I was camping at an event, and he was kind of looking around. I said, "What you look for?" He said, "Man, I need somewhere to charge these batteries." And I said, "Well, I've got a place. Are you sure it worked?" I remember that. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So he does.
Are you sure it worked?
You sure it works? You sure it works? I'm like,
and then we eat, let me just say, we eat semi-healthy. Me and Art do semi. Yeah. We drink a lot of water, no soft drinks. So we're going to go semi. This kind of gets on Chris's nerve when I go down this route. Semi. But Ed eats, perfectly healthy. So he's got all his meals laid out. He's got all these cashews and pecans, and his pecans are really good. He's got all this stuff laid out.
Has he got you
You know
saying
what
pecans? Is that what you just said? Pecans?
Oh man, pecan, whatever it is. But it's
Right.
funny. It's funny because here's what I do. This is bad. This is like tempting him when I probably shouldn't do it. But I'll strategically place my Reese cups around the
Oh
house.
man, that's right.
Yeah, so he'll see them. It is bad. And my Sour Patch Kids, so we'll place them around the house. We'll just tempt him all week long to not eat.
Man,
I'm not eating them. I got willpower. I'm not eating them. I'm not eating them. And he don't eat them. He don't eat them, except for Lake Fort. Me and him both had a really good first round, and then we sucked in the knockout round. Just to be honest with you. And he gets to the house first, and I pull up, and he's cramming a Reese cup in his mouth. He's done ate 2 of them.
So we know when
man.
Edwin has a bad day, he's just going to be eating a Reese cup. So we got
and he, come on, let's go, catch him. Come on, let's go. He's really intense. But I wish I had a little bit of that in me. You know, I'm like too far to one side. I wish I had a little more of that intensity. An extreme competitor, which probably comes from his football days, and then Marion Tuesday, who I heard could whip him in just about any sport she wanted to whip him in. So I think she whips him on the golf course.
That's pretty
whatever
cool.
she wants to do.
That is pretty cool. I'm gonna have to have
That's
Edwin on here real soon.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll get Ed on, but I don't know if it was as good as Prudhomme because I can't talk like him. But
Mark, I tell you, Mark went all out on that deal. He did some research. Yeah, he did some research on Gerald. He got really.
That was more of a story than an impression, but that's what we're gonna go with.
Yeah, that's good. That was good. You did a good job. Well, man, I want to thank you for being my guest today, and I hope you'll come back on the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast again sometime.
We will. We close enough. Maybe we'll do it in person instead of in my beautiful office. Right.
Man, I love your office there. So what's up next for you? Where are you headed next?
So we fished the BPT at the Lake of the Ozarks, but I'm actually leaving here and I'm gonna watch my little girls play softball. I say girls. I got one daughter and a niece, but they both stay with me a lot. But I'm gonna watch them play softball, and then I'm filming tomorrow morning. Down in Low Country, South Carolina, your
old stomping ground.
Yeah. We filmed a skipping buzzbait show down there last year.
That was a good show.
Yeah. It really was, and going somewhere different, but still gonna be in my Tracker John boat, just kind of old school fishing some creeks and stuff way down Low Country, South Carolina. So looking forward to that, and then get home and then turn around and go to the Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want to thank you for being here with me today. You guys need to follow Andy Montgomery. If you haven't followed him, get on there and follow him. It is always entertaining, always awesome. What a great ambassador for the sport. Well, this is Chris Wells with the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast, where faith and fishing hook up. We'll see you next week.